Since we're on a company trip, let's cancel the $10 million deal. Joseph, the sales manager of the main contractor company, Neocraft, certainly said that over the phone. You can hear noisy sounds and voices in the background. It seems like they are indeed on a trip, having a party. This will bankrupt us, won't it? The voice of Daniel, his subordinate, continues. It seems they put the phone on speaker mode. They seem drunk, their voices several pitches higher, sounding quite cheerful. But we don't have any deals scheduled. I don't recall any $10 million deal, and even checking the schedule, I can't confirm it. What? You can hear Joseph's surprised voice. Are you drunk and confused? That can't be right. Hey Daniel, we should definitely have a meeting scheduled with Lisbon today, right? Yes, that's right, but you can't trust the words of these drunkards. I decided to ask Chris, the new employee at Neocraft, who was in front of me, about the situation. However, what he revealed was shocking. My name is Will Miller. I am the president of the app development company, Lisbon. It's been 18 years since I started the company. Thanks to our steady efforts, we've recently been able to take on big projects. I am grateful to the main contractor company, Neocraft, that has been giving us work, especially the former president, Wilson, who valued our meticulous work and has been looking after us. However, at the beginning of this year, he was diagnosed with a serious illness and is currently hospitalized. Since then, the president has changed, and it seems he has started other businesses, so he's not managing Neocraft much. For us, it would be fine if we could continue getting work at the same pace as before. That's what I thought, but... Hello, this is Will. A call came in, and I answered. The caller was Joseph, the sales manager at Neocraft. Oh, subcontractor Miller, it's me. His arrogance never fails to irritate me. I'd love to give him a piece of my mind. But since Joseph holds the actual power at the somewhat neglected Neocraft and we're getting work from them, I couldn't talk back. So, how long will it take for the recent project? Yes, I believe we'll finish about a day before the deadline. When I responded, Joseph continued in a displeased tone. Your company is always slow. How many times do I have to tell you that the deadline is the minimum requirement? But if we do a thorough job, there are fewer corrections needed, which ultimately saves time. That's our policy. My company has built its reputation and trust by doing meticulous work. Former President Wilson appreciated this and gave us work because of it. I have no intention of changing our policy now. As long as we meet the deadlines, there shouldn't be a problem. However, Joseph is a man who values quantity over quality, making him a terrible match for our company. I've heard that many times. The need for corrections is your issue, not ours. If you keep dragging your feet, we'll cut you off. Initially, he only made sarcastic remarks, but since gaining real power, he's escalated to threatening to terminate our contract. There are plenty of companies that can replace a low-level firm like yours. If you understand your position, finish the next job quickly. With that, the call ended. Neocraft is indeed my company's lifeline, but we can't continue like this forever. I began to seriously consider whether we should change the direction of the company. 2 weeks later, I received a call early in the morning. It was Joseph. Hey, I'm sending a new member over to your place today. Dealing with a third-rate slowpoke like you is a job for a newbie, ha ha ha. I don't have time to deal with you guys anymore either. Another man's voice came through the phone. His name was Daniel. He was Joseph's right-hand man and had been the one to visit us before. But he usually said the same things as Joseph. He was always sucking up to Joseph and mocking our company. Honestly, I was relieved the contact person was changing. After a while, just as Joseph had said, a 22-year-old new employee arrived at my company. His name was Chris. Unlike Joseph and Daniel, he was a polite and refreshing young man. Thank you for making time for me today. No thank you for coming all the way here. After a brief greeting, Chris handed me a dark green paper bag. It seemed to be a gift. Please enjoy this. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. No, Lisbon has always taken care of us. Manager Joseph said you would be very pleased with this. I was puzzled that Joseph would send me a gift. That guy usually only gives me trouble. Why would he do something like this? Feeling uneasy, I decided to ask Chris about the contents. Manager Joseph, by the way, may I ask what's inside? Yes, it's tiramisu. Tiramisu. My suspicion was right on target. Previously, when I went out to eat with Joseph, I had refused the tiramisu that was supposed to be the dessert course, saying I really didn't like it. Of course, Joseph should be aware of that. And the fact that he told Chris I would love it clearly indicates this was meant to be a nuisance. What's wrong? Actually, I don't like tiramisu. Manager Joseph should know that. When I said that, Chris looked surprised and then his face clouded over. I'm sorry for bringing you something you don't like. No, it's okay. I'll share it with the staff. Manager Joseph hates our company, so he probably did it on purpose. Honestly, Manager Joseph and Daniel are always bad-mouthing Lisbon at the company. They say things like your work is slow, but from my perspective, your thoroughness with minimal revisions is incredibly helpful. From his tone, it seemed that, unlike those guys, Chris genuinely appreciated our company. There's another major company handling our requests, but that's a company Manager Joseph started dealing with. They're fast, but very sloppy. That just means more revisions. It ends up taking more time. Exactly. I handle those revisions, and it's exhausting. Chris sighed, mixing his complaints. By the way, Miller, there's no way your company could speed up, right? Well, we have our own methods. We believe this is the most efficient way. When I said that, Chris thought for a moment and then nodded, saying, I understand. I also think that's best. Well, I'll take my leave for today. Oh, is it just a greeting today? Yes, thank you very much. I saw Chris off. Honestly, it was much better than dealing with Daniel or Joseph, and it was a pleasant encounter. However, my mood was ruined by the call that came after. Ha ha ha. Did you like the gift? Next time you come, bring something twice as good. Joseph mocked me with satisfaction and then hung up. About 6 months later, Chris visited us again. There wasn't supposed to be an appointment, so I wondered what was up and invited him into the president's office. What brings you here so suddenly? Well, I don't know either. Joseph just told me to come over. That's troublesome. Can't you contact Manager Joseph? When I asked, Chris hesitantly opened his mouth. His troubled expression suggested that something unusual was going on. Actually, everyone else went on a trip. What? Everyone but you? Why would they do that? Given that he was here, it didn't seem like he had refused due to personal reasons. Well, Chris continued in a dejected tone. It seems I've fallen out of favor with Manager Joseph, so I was excluded from the company trip. That's tough, but why would it go that far? Even if he upset Joseph, excluding him from a trip seemed excessive. There must be more to it. The other day, as usual, Joseph was bad-mouthing your company, and I argued back. I said your company does the best work for us. He didn't like that. Since then, even if I succeed at work, he ignores me. The truth Chris revealed was shocking, but I was also pleased that he trusted our company. You defended us. I'm sorry it led to this, thank you. No, I just spoke the truth. Besides, I have no regrets. I'm thinking of quitting the company. In this economy, it would be tough for a new graduate to find another job if their record got tarnished. Really, have you found another job yet? Not yet. I've applied to various places, but it's tough. Understanding his situation, I made a suggestion. If you don't find another job, I'll hire you here. Really? After all, it was because he defended us that he ended up like this. It's only right to take care of him. Actually, we have a big project coming in, so I was thinking of hiring more staff. That's a relief, honestly. Working under someone like you would be a dream come true. Just hearing this offer makes me glad I came. Seeing Chris so happy, I felt a sense of joy in being trusted. But a question crossed my mind. Why did Chris come here in the first place? He said it was under Joseph's orders. As I pondered this, the phone rang. I checked the screen. It was Joseph. Hello, Miller speaking. It's me. Are you having fun with your fellow third-rater? The conversation started with insults right off the bat. By third-raters. Joseph was referring to me and Chris. It seemed that defending me once had made Chris quite disliked as well. Since we're on a company trip, let's cancel the $10 million deal. Joseph certainly said that over the phone. Noisy sounds and voices could be heard in the background. Chris's mention of them being on a trip was true. It seemed they were having a party. This will bankrupt us, won't it? It seemed they had put the phone on speaker mode because Daniel's voice followed. It sounded like he was drinking beer and was quite cheerful, with his voice several pitches higher. What? A video call, Daniel? Apparently, Daniel was calling Chris as well, and Chris answered with a puzzled look. Hey, Chris, point that camera at your third-rate boss. We sent you there to see his despair. Okay. Confused, Chris pointed the camera at me. The screen showed Daniel with a flushed face and Joseph grinning smugly. Not fully understanding the situation, I voiced my doubt to Joseph. But there's no scheduled deal, is there? I had no recollection of a $10 million deal, and checking the calendar confirmed it. What? Joseph's surprised voice came through. Are you drunk and confused? That can't be right. Hey, Daniel, there should definitely be a deal scheduled with Lisbon today, right? Yes, that should be the case, but you can't trust the words of these drunks. I decided to ask Chris, who was standing in front of me. Chris, do you know what this $10 million deal is about? Joseph and Daniel, visibly agitated, were on the screen. Oh, that. I gave that project to another company the other day. I was told to bring it to our usual company. Knowing Joseph hated your company, I took it to the other one. They seemed to be preparing for the job. What? No way. Joseph was clearly panicking on the other end of the phone. As you heard, it seems this has nothing to do with us. What are you doing, Chris? I told you to take it to Miller's company. What? There's no way Manager Joseph would ever consider giving such a big job to Miller's company. That was to set his company up for failure. It seemed there was a miscommunication between Joseph and Chris. However, in this case, Chris was undoubtedly in the right. The two of them likely only half listened to Chris's inquiries and reports, given that they intended to set up my company from the start. Hey, Daniel, you're the one who scheduled the meeting. What's going on? Joseph, now red-faced with rage, shouted. Daniel, who had sobered up from his earlier jovial drunkenness, was now pale. Well, I just sent the message to the address Chris provided. I assumed it was Miller's company, so I didn't double-check. You idiot. How much time do we have before the meeting? I'm very sorry. We have just 1 hour left. They seemed to be in a mess, but I also had my hands full. I wanted to hang up, but watching their panic was too amusing. 1 hour. We won't make it from here. If we miss this meeting with the major company, we'll lose the deal. Chris, get to the other company now. You might just make it from there. Joseph, desperate, barked orders at Chris. No. To everyone's surprise, Chris refused Joseph's orders with a big smile. Perhaps he had bottled up his frustrations for too long, and his smile was the brightest I had ever seen. What? You won't follow my orders? That's right, I refuse. Today is supposed to be a day off since you all are on a trip. Right, I decline to work overtime. What are you saying? Have you lost your mind, Chris? If we miss this deal, neither you nor I will get away unscathed. I'll be held responsible, and we'll both be fired." Daniel frantically pleaded with Chris, but Chris remained calm and indifferent. After all, he was planning to quit, so the threat of being fired had no effect on him. For Daniel, who had hoped to benefit from Joseph's favoritism, it was a disaster, but fitting for a petty villain. "Go ahead and fire me. In fact, I'm quitting right now. Goodbye." "Wait, Chris, don't quit. If you quit now, we're doomed." "Hey, Daniel, stop saying stupid things." Apologize to Chris immediately. Joseph, never expecting Chris to actually resign, was now shouting at Daniel in a panic. Daniel, hearing the thunderous shouting, immediately apologized. "Sorry, Chris, please, don't quit." "You're not the only one who should apologize. Where exactly did manager Joseph go, leaving me behind?" Joseph's face contorted at these words. I could see his arrogant pride crumbling. "I'm sorry, Chris. I'll change everything, including what happened before. I'll even increase your salary and treat you better, so please." "I won't forgive you. I'm quitting. Goodbye." With that, Chris ended the video call. I also hung up my phone. "Well, from today onward, please take care of me, President Miller." Chris offered his hand for a handshake with a smile that seemed to say he had avenged me, and I responded with a wry smile. He promised to come to our office properly the next day and then left. However, Joseph and Daniel, unwilling to give up, visited my office just half a day later, as if to replace Chris. "It's well past business hours. What do you need? You should at least make an appointment." "Well, President Miller, please don't be so harsh." Daniel tried to calm me down, clearly sensing my irritation. "Actually, President Miller, we're here to discuss a business deal." "A business deal?" I thought they were here to complain about the earlier incident, but apparently not. "Yes, a $10 million deal. If you take this job, Lisbon will make a fortune. Your retirement will be secure." $10 million? Isn't that the deal you were planning to give to another company? Why are they bringing this to us now? When I asked, Joseph began to explain, sweating nervously. "Well, yes, but on second thought, I realized your company does much more meticulous work. For such a large project, I feel more confident having Lisbon handle it." "Yes, President Miller, your company requires fewer corrections, making it ideal for a job of this scale." It all seemed too suspicious. Their attitudes had changed dramatically. And after all the trouble they caused because they disliked our methods, this sudden shift was too contradictory. I had a good idea of what was going on, but I wanted to hear it from them. "You're lying. Did you miss the meeting and have the deal cancelled?" When I confronted them, Joseph and Daniel visibly flinched in unison. "Joseph, we can't keep this hidden. We should just be honest." "Shut up. I know that already, President Miller. You're right. We went there immediately, but they turned us away." As I suspected, my intuition was correct. Chris had mentioned that the other company was a major player. Such a large company wouldn't tolerate a no-show for a meeting, especially for a $10 million deal. It's only natural they'd sever ties after such an incident. "We've been told there will be no further dealings, so we have no choice but to turn to Lisbon, President Miller. Please, President Miller, we beg you." Daniel showed his apology, and Joseph clung to me. There's no way I would entertain their request after such a blatant change of heart. The fact that they thought they could sway me with this was even more insulting. "I refuse. You were trying to set me up, weren't you? Why should I help you now?" "I apologize for that. We'll make amends for all our past misdeeds. But this is business. You want to make money too, right? Forget the past and take this job." Joseph's insincere apologies finally pushed my anger to its limit. "Do you really think that counts as an apology? I'm sorry, you say. Are you kidding me? Think about what you've done before you apologize." Hearing my raised voice for the first time, Joseph flinched. Then, he immediately dropped to the ground, prostrating himself before me. "I sincerely apologize for everything. Please forgive me." "Joseph, sir." Daniel was slightly taken aback by Joseph's complete abandonment of pride. It must have been shocking to see the person he trusted groveling before someone he despised the most. "What are you standing there for? Get down too." "Yes, President Miller, I am deeply sorry." Shouted at by Joseph, Daniel also prostrated himself. Though they seemed to be genuinely apologizing, my decision remained unchanged. "All right, that's enough. You can raise your heads." Then, Joseph lifted his head, his face showing clear relief. Daniel also looked up at me, following Joseph's lead. "Unfortunately, I can't accept the deal." "What?" Joseph's face fell back into despair. "Why, this isn't a bad deal for you either. If you cut ties with us, what will you do in the future? Your small company will go under without our work." He had clearly lost any pretense of civility. Joseph reverted to his arrogant self, proving that his earlier apology was just lip service. I told Joseph, who was now sweating profusely, the truth. "That's where you're mistaken." "Mistaken? About what?" "We can manage just fine without Neocraft. Cutting ties with you won't hurt us at all." Joseph froze at my words, unable to comprehend what was happening. "That can't be." "It's true. As a result of consistently doing meticulous work, we were offered a significant project by another company not long ago. The deal is worth $12 million. $12 million. Without changing our approach, we gradually earned trust and were approached for a deal by another company 2 months ago. Yes, that's why we're increasing our staff. Having Chris join us is a great help. Besides, we need to focus entirely on that project, so we don't have the capacity to take on Neocraft's projects. You'd choose a fly-by-night company over us, after all we've done for you. The one I owe is the former president, Wilson, not Joseph. I had no obligation to him and made that clear. Neocraft under President Wilson is over. I owe nothing to the Neocraft you control now. Borrowing President Wilson's legacy to convince me is offensive. Even so, I gave your company work. You were only full of complaints and sarcasm. Saying you gave us work is arrogant and distasteful." Out of options, Joseph glared at me with resentment. Then Daniel, who had been silent, approached. "Is what you said true about the $12 million deal?" "Why would I lie about that? The deal and our staff expansion are both real." Then Daniel began to prostrate himself at my feet once more. "Please hire me too, along with Chris." "What, Daniel, you traitor? You're going to betray me." "Shut up. I was a fool for following you. Stop acting high and mighty when you failed at everything." They began to argue right in front of me. Even while shouting, Joseph's voice trembled, betrayed by Daniel. He never expected his right-hand man would turn against him after Chris did. "What did you say? I'm your boss. Have you forgotten everything I've done for you?" "Boss, you idiot. You blew a $100 million deal. Even the hands-off current president won't ignore such a loss. You'll be finished, jobless." "Jobless me? Unemployed?" Daniel's ruthless words drained the color from Joseph's face. Realizing the severity of his situation, Joseph turned pale. "Yes, jobless. You're getting fired for sure." "No, I can't be unemployed. Please help me, President Miller. At my age, I'll never find another job." Completely broken, Joseph stumbled toward me, trying to grab my shoulder for support. "Hold on." "Oh!" As I sidestepped, Joseph lost his balance and fell to the ground. "Ouch! Why won't you help me, President Miller? Please help me. I'm begging you." "No, President Miller should help me, not you. Losers like you belong on the ground, right, President Miller? That fool deserves to stay down there." Joseph, seemingly broken, kept pleading for help while rolling on the ground, completely dazed. Meanwhile, Daniel continued to berate his former boss, desperately trying to save himself. The scene resembled a hellish tableau. I felt no sympathy. No matter how much you beg, it's impossible, and I have no intention of hiring you either, Daniel. What? Why not? Unlike that useless fool, I can be of great use to you, President Miller. Chris defended me while he was still at Neocraft. What were you doing during that time? You harassed both me and Chris. You were in cahoots with Joseph to set me up. There's no way I could hire someone as dangerous as you. Moreover, Daniel had betrayed Joseph at the last moment. I'm not foolish enough to take in someone like that. This can't be. Help me, Miller. Please help, I beg you. Joseph muttered, collapsing over Daniel. Neither of them could talk anymore. Not wanting them to linger and cause more trouble, I instructed security to remove them and left the company. I would never see their faces again. Walking home from the office, my heart felt completely clear. Later, I heard that both Joseph and Daniel were wandering the streets and were detained by the police for questioning, since they kept calling my name. The police contacted me, but I told them it had nothing to do with me and gave them Neocraft's contact information. According to one of Chris's former colleagues, both men were disciplined by the current president for botching the $10 million deal. Daniel, originally the second son of an elite family, couldn't find another job and returned home, only to be labeled a failure and kicked out by his family. He begged a former colleague for a place to stay but was refused, and they lost contact with him. As for Joseph, he became so weak that he couldn't hold a normal conversation, missed rent payments, and was evicted from his home. Recently, I saw someone resembling Joseph under a bridge, but I neither knew nor cared to confirm if it was him. Our company, now with Chris and several new employees, is smoothly progressing with the big project. Chris quickly adapted to our methods and, despite being only 22, showed remarkable skill and was growing rapidly. With talented personnel, I intend to continue doing meticulous work. If I stick to my methods, the future will surely be bright.